What's up, guys? Anthony Rodriguez here, and I'm super excited because we are at number 7. The soundtracks suite, volume 1, track 7 is Build an Ark. And so there's so many things that come through mind when thinking about the floods and water and just the chaos of that Noah story, where pretty much everyone surrounding him was mocking him and just doubting him, and you know what, it's a situation where it's easy for everyone around you to doubt you when it's not happening in the instant, when it's not happening at that current moment. It was a while before the actual flood happened, but the process to build the ark. But anyway, I'm just going to give you a piece of the verse from the Bible. So Genesis, we're still in Genesis, chapter 7. I think we're going to go to verse 17. Verse 17 is Then the flood came upon the earth for 40 days, and the water increased and lifted up the ark, so that it rose above the earth. And the water prevailed and increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. And it just goes on and goes on. So that's Genesis. And we're in the book of Genesis for this whole soundtrack suite, in the book of Genesis, which ends in the last track of this soundtrack suite, volume 1, which we'll get there. But today we're just going to focus on Build an Ark. And so if we look at my Pro Tools file here, this one only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stems from this, compared to the stereo session, which is more than that. When I always come into the Atmos session, the Atmos to me is a playground, not stressing about compression, not stressing about anything else. As you can see here, we have a few tools that were chosen for this. If you look at other videos, BTS, but behind the scenes, on some of the inserts, there's barely anything there. But this one, we have that. And this is all depending on what time, when I actually mix this. Got to remember that the soundtrack suite wasn't released as a whole album at once. It was released by singles in different parts of the year. Like, I think I started the soundtrack suite in 2022. Going into 2023, I was working on beginning of time. I had a few soundtracks already written out. My Dolby Atmos journey started in 2023. My first Atmos mix was beginning of time. And then as I was finishing that album, I went back to do the first 2 tracks, which was God and Kick Me Out of Heaven. And I remixed those into Atmos. So the templates have changed throughout the process, and they continue changing till today. But yeah, so we have a little bit of some processing going on. So let's just get into it. So the whole imagination here, it's water, some type of, we're looking at sounds, a lot of sound designing. So let's hear through it. And before I forget, we are in my Dolby Atmos session with playback at 2.0 direct. That means that you can actually hear the Dolby Atmos mix in your headphones, whatever type of headphones, whatever type of stereo system that you listen to music on. You can hear a high percentage of the Atmos mix there. So in this track that you're hearing right now, with all these sound effects, they're all condensed into one stem. So you're hearing that, and then the way it's placed in the renderer, We have two objects here and then two objects in the back elevated up. So you hear the voice right now with some effects in the back. So the voices actually are in the bed. They're not, the voices are in the bed. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. They're in the bed. And just to kind of take you guys back, the bed is the actual speakers that you see in a room or in a theater. The objects are metadata, the green little balls, the green objects in the renderer that hold metadata. And so the speakers that are in the room, their job is to place that metadata into the position of where the engineer has placed the objects in their mix. So when you hear these voices, you see those green balls. The job of the speakers is to place that metadata and to make it and bring it out to life. So in each video I explain that, because I don't know how if you're watching it in order, but if this is your first video that you're watching, so yeah, so that's what it is. Those green balls, metadata, and the physical speakers are the bed, and then the communication between the metadata and the physical speakers will bring that Atmos mix to life. So we have some voices here, and you have a bunch of objects there distributing effects and delays. We have movement. Yeah, if you're wearing headphones, you can really enjoy the movement. We go back to that same stem, the sound effects. They're object based, so those were placed in the front, left, and right, but also sent to some Atmos verbs. As you can see, the Atmos verb, and then delays, but in the delays is not in the full Atmos setup. It's actually in selected speakers. So we have somebody moving. So yeah, so I have those effects moving at the end. So that is building Ark. So we're gonna go in over some parts here. In each channel of these stems, they're actually placed from the source, from the tracks itself. So they're not sent to objects placed in different parts, only for, you know, I have top, I believe this is the top kind of, I have objects set here that are kind of in the top, back, but a little bit forward. And then I have reverb number 2, kind of in the bottom with some size. In this particular mix, Don't know what I wanted to do with this. But it's that way. I have the 3 reverb set up here also. I have front verbs, I have mid verbs, and I have back verbs, so rear and the surrounds in the back. Um, and then I have a full Atmos verb, a full delay verb, and that's it. So it's very simple. So if I go into one of my favorite stems that I love to play with, let's see what this bass synth is doing. So it's not sent to any place, it's just on the left and right. Also object based, you can see there. So just to give you a little bit of context, what it's the difference between the bed and the object. We already know that the bed is the physical speakers and the object are metadata based. If I was to turn this into the bed, I would click on that object tab here, and then it becomes part of the bed. So there's really no difference happening. No difference happening there. Usually when you go into the binaural settings, you look at, the 13, 14 objects, and they're actually set in mid. Don't know why I did that, but I did it. I would have chosen something else, but it's set for mid. Another one is, we can look at the horns. Oh, I love French horns. The French horns here are in the back with size and kind of like away from the speaker, so they're object based. So for that one, there's a send to the reverb number 2, which would be this one. If you see the render, you should be able to see 2 things. Like 4 objects. Yeah. Okay. So let's shrink this more. Okay. So you can see that the horns are living in the back. They're not in the front, top, or anything. I have them right there. The whole vision, again, is just to place things that, in different positions. But they're not in the Atmos verb. They're only in the back top verb. The horns, the French horns. So if I was to stop it, you can hear the reverb spinning out over here in the back. So that's the whole purpose of that. Everything is intentional. Everything has a meaning. This is what I love about Atmos mixing, is I could do so many things that I can do away from the stereo mix. Another one is percussion. I love percussion. I'm a big percussion guy. I love writing percussion. So the percussion, I have them. Where's that render? Right there. The percussion is just hanging out right there by the ear. No reverb, no nothing. The reverb that's in the stem printed on there, that's what stays. That's what felt like I needed to do for this mix. This is what I wanted to do. I just really wanted to make it immersive. I really just didn't want to make it feel like it's up mixed or anything. None of my mixes from this project or anything else with clients, everything is always intentional. I have a plan in place, and I love to experiment, and I love to try things. And the QC quality control is heavy for me. So I do heavy quality control when it comes to my Atmos mixes, because I want to make sure that it translates perfectly onto the devices that people listen to 99% of the time, maybe 99.9% of the time. People listen on headphones or sound bars with Atmos capabilities, and very minimum people go to a studio, an Atmos studio, to hear music on a Saturday morning. You know what I'm saying? So, or in a commute to work. But even if it's playing in a studio, I'm perfectly confident that everything's fine. It is what it is. It is what it is. And we have some strings here. The strings are in the bed. As you can see here, it says bus. It's not object. If I press bus, it's going to turn into object. So these strings are in the bed, so they're definitely sitting in the speakers. I sent them to the midverb. As you can see here, I sent them to the midverb. You can see the midverb channel. So if I take out the renderer, you're not going to see anything in the renderer right now. Totally empty. But if you see the channels up here in the renderer on the left side over here, you can see where they're coming out. So the whole purpose is to kind of place the verbs in different positions. Not like in other tracks where I have the verbs coming out as an Atmos verb. Some of these things here are coming out in Atmos verbs, meaning that the reverb is coming out of all the speakers, but not in a way where it's overwhelming. It's just coming out in a way more of a tasteful thing, more like a little seasoning to complement it. But when it comes to placing verbs on a certain part, I love to just throw a little bit of push the verbs there. You can hear here, right here. See? Another one here. The voices are also in the bed. And they have some effects sent into the renderer objects. So if I play it again, so in the renderer, they're placed in, this is the top, which you just saw here. Right there, you see them in the back, elevated to the top. And they're placed in the rear, in the back verb, the back reverb. You see the back verb? There's not a lot going on there, but they're placed there. So if you were to be in an Atmos room, you're going to hear the choir coming from the side speakers. You can see the placement here. They're coming from the side. And then you're going to hear some effects from the back, elevated, top and the back right there. And then you're going to hear some reverb in the rear speakers in the back. And some movements here. Let's see where the movements are happening exactly, so I can take you there. Yeah, let's see right here. This is all part of it. Yeah. Okay. So there's movements here and the objects. let's have some fun with that. Let's show you. Let me put this here. You're wearing headphones, you could really appreciate this a lot more. Oh my God, yeah, you can actually feel the movement. And these movements sound really nice. So I have the movement, I have it on the verbs coming on the top as well. So I really wanted to make that obvious. You know, when you can hear something moving nicely on solo mode, you're doing a good job. You know, sometimes people might move objects in the middle of a mix, and then when you solo it, it's so phasey and it comes in and out. It has a lot to do with the setting of the objects and the way you're moving it. So I like to make sure that the accuracy is on point so that there isn't any problems on any device, from physical speakers to headphones to bars, anything. So even at the end over here, where the movement is happening, at the end. Slow movement, just regular size objects, just moving. So this is, if I take it out of solo, it's out. Yeah, I'll put it back here. The simplest things can take you very far, you know? So I want to be maybe one of the few people that say that, you know, an Atmos mix is not all about green balls flying everywhere 24/7. It's just giving the listener an experience, an immersive experience. And the very subtle things really matter, really matter. Imagination. You know, sometimes I think, hey, you know, I want to go crazy in this mix, or sometimes I think I want to keep it simple. I just want, you know, sometimes I think about the stereo mix. I did a lot of work in the stereo mix, and I want to just kind of just add a little bit more depth to it in the Atmos mix, and not have to try to make more movement happening, but just add some effects to complement what's already there. And so anyway, this is Build an Ark. It started with percussion, with sound effects, and just strings, short strings and long strings at the end to give us a nice ending to it. So the story of Noah is a unique one for sure. I hope you guys enjoyed this BTS raw footage and just going into my Atmos mix, you know, and just having fun with me, guys. I appreciate you watching and joining me in this journey. Stay tuned for the next one. Oh, wait a minute. Listen to the full album on Apple Music, on Tidal and Amazon Music in full Dolby Atmos. If you have a physical setup at home, a Dolby Atmos, no matter what size. If you have AirPod Max, AirPod Pros, Beats Pro, Sonos Ace, anything that has Atmos capability, anything that has spatial audio, you can stream this on those platforms in Dolby Atmos and experience it for yourself. This is in Playback 2.0 Direct, but listening to it in an Atmos capable device is a better experience. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.